All right, peace, and good evening, everybody. How you doing? This is Talking Politics with Friends. I am Stevens Orozco, your co-host for this evening. I am here with our guest and our co-host, and I want to jump into introducing them in just a quick bit. So much to go over today. We are currently live on 1230 The Source as well as on our YouTube page. So why is that important? Is because you will be able to participate in the conversation once we reach the 8 o'clock hour. Whenever you see the phone jump on the screen like this, and then you see the numbers pop up right underneath like that, 713-668-1230. That's 713-668-1230. You'll be able to join the conversation and let us know what's on your mind, and then see where we take it from there. But before we continue on with what's going on, I'm going to go ahead and start introducing my co-host first. We have the one and only Biko Mandela Gray, Dr. Biko Mandela Gray, because now they call you Dr. Biko.
Apparently they do. What it do, everybody? It's good to be back again after, maybe 2 or 3 weeks? Yep. A little bit of a hiatus type of thing. I do have to give one shout out today to my second father, my father-in-law, Papa Sawyer. It's your birthday tomorrow, so giving you a early happy birthday. Just wanted to tell you, he tunes into the show from time to time, so I just wanted to tell him happy birthday on air. I'm super looking forward to this conversation. It's good to have, especially with our new guests. Like, it's about to be dope. So and we have so much to cover, Stevens. It's been a lot that's went down. Grand Platinum. You know what? Let me not jump the gun. Mm-hmm. Let's go ahead and introduce our special guest before we get
Absolutely.
into it.
So we have our guest today, and we love having guests that we meet for the first time as well, because it's amazing in the work that we do, how much we can find in common, but also appreciate what they got going on right now. We have with us Jasmine Khadem González. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let me see if I got you. Do it again.
Thank you so much for having me.
There you go. I got you. You're welcome. Actually, we were hoping to have Maria join us. She may be running behind, or she may not be able to make it because last minute emergencies. But Maria actually suggested that we bring you on the show and talk to you. And why would we want to bring you on the show and talk to you is because, of course, there's some amazing work that you've been a part of, but very specifically because a big topic has been going on here on the show and around the country now is the growing power of DSA. So I wanted to introduce you. And then if anybody else was looking at the screen and saw your name, they also saw that you are a DSA Houston member. You help organize, and specifically with the immigrant rights portion of their focus. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, tell us maybe a short synopsis of how your activism has led you to DSA and the work that you're doing now.
Man, where do I start? So I started doing immigrant rights organizing when Trump first got into office, but I started doing it more seriously within the DSA the second time, once he was running for the second time. And before he got inaugurated, I knew that we were going to have to start to prepare community for what was coming next. Right. Because, he ran on a mass deportation agenda, and I think when we saw, when Donald Trump runs on something, he's going to deliver on that, at least when it comes to all the fascist policies.
1,000%.
When he's lying about affordability and lying about no wars, that's another story. Right. But when it came to the mass deportation agenda, I believed him, and we knew that we had to rely on one another and on community. So we started training people. We started doing Know Your Rights trainings in the community. We started training people for rapid response in the community, and that's what really got me plugged into the DSA much more seriously. I've been a paper member of the DSA since about 2021. Okay. After I graduated college, I was like, man, I was in college in 2020 during the BLM movement. I tried to be very active politically on my college campus. We did a bunch of DEI type of initiatives. We tried to stop the over-policing of black fraternities at UH, at our college campus. And so we were able to get a coalition of student organizers to actually limit the amount of officers that would be going to black fraternities, because there was no policy before. So it was up to officer discretion. So it was up to really racism. And so we put a policy, so every X number of people, you'll have this many, UHPD officers going and, monitoring or whatever. So that way we were trying to make things a little bit more equitable on campus. And so we had all kinds of initiatives like that. A lot of those initiatives got rolled back because of Governor Abbott, of course.
1,000%.
Like 2 years after I graduated.
Wow. I have so many thoughts. Like part of what I'm thinking, I mean, I work at U of H now, right? So I guess I should put the disclaimer out here now, Stevens, like anything I say does not reflect my employer or whatever. But I bring it up to say that, you know, I'm also, even as an employee of that place, right, as a faculty member, I'm feeling those repressive tactics that are happening because U of H is a public institution. One of the wonderful things about being there is that there are incredible students who are passionate and involved and really have like interesting, progressive, even leftist values that are super exciting.
And I think that comes from UH. It is a working class university.
1,000%.
And that's the place that you go to because it's the place that you can afford. And like, I mean, that's why I went to the University of Houston, because that was the only university I could really afford. I couldn't go to UT. I couldn't like move away from my parents for a while. And so UH is that option for people who are in the working class who want to get higher education.
Absolutely.
There was a student leader, I remember when I was in college, and he was running for, you know, student government, and he said something that stuck with me, is that UH uses diversity as a token. And I really took that to heart, and I saw that throughout the activism that we were doing, and really after I graduated, I really saw it, because they never actually, the university didn't push back on Governor Abbott whatsoever.
They don't.
They didn't try.
You
know, they were stripping back, you know, they were taking away the DEI center, you know, before they even had to.
Jeez, this is so, I mean, I like, all I can say is that, you know, working there, it's been an eye-opener. You have to understand, too, I come from, you know, I was working at a private institution for a while at Syracuse University beforehand, and SU it had its own sort of issues and own problems, but it's one thing when you're having to explicitly deal with an institution that says it's legally bound by state law to do certain things. And so it's been, for me as a teacher, a pretty difficult transition. What do I say? What don't I say? How do I move in the classroom? All of those things. But I will tell you, one of the things that makes it wonderful being there is that there are passionate students out there, passionate students who are doing some wild. So I love that. I do have to say too, like, you know, I was thinking about, you were talking about the immigrants' rights stuff. I'm curious, how was it, especially here, because Greg Abbott is Donald Trump's sort of right-hand man here in Texas. Was there a lot of fear right after Trump gets elected the second time? How were the people that you were organizing with? How were people managing? What was the energy like? Was it despondent, or was it resilient, or was it just give us a sense of what you were facing, honestly.
I think for a while there was this sense of kind of denial, you know, like it's not going to happen here, you know, I haven't seen it yet, and eventually that started to change as, you know, ICE got more funding, and then we started to hear, you know, we feel like the Houston Police Department is cooperating with ICE. You know, we're afraid of starting to go to the grocery store, we're afraid of getting medical treatment, we're afraid of leaving the house, period.
Listen, Jesus, it's so wild that you... and Stevens and I mean, you remember this when we were organizing against 287G with, you know, all of that sort of work that was going down. That's what's so difficult about being in Texas is, on the one hand, you're in Texas, right? So that means Greg Abbott, this sort of like rampant right-wing conservative racist white supremacist sort of policies that get put in place. The wild thing about it, though, is being in Houston, you have this pocket of not simply sort of liberals, but like leftist progressive folks, such as yourself, such as like all these other folks. And so, you know, the question that we've been sort of mulling around here for the past few weeks, I suppose, is not the question. The thing that we've been really emphasizing here is that Houston is a spot and a place where we can see some of these progressive values flourish if we can do the work of organizing. And it sounds like you're already doing that work. So just want to give you a shout out on air just to say, listen, also we do need to get into it, Stevens. I ain't going to steal your thunder, but we have a DSA perp member in here right now. Yeah. You know, Donald Trump was talking about communism is terrible. And Mike Johnson was, they're going to steal your freedoms. There's going to be minimum Donnies across the country. So I wanted to get into it.
I don't know who it was in the press conference in Congress recently, just this week. He's like, the Bolshevik takeover is now happening.
Oh my God!
The Democratic Party. I'm like, Bolshevik. I'm like,
yo, what year is it?
I'm like, all right, listen. I understand the context of learning history and where socialism, communism, Marxism all comes from, but like, you know, I was really thinking about this. Like, they're gonna try to beat this argument.
Oh, 1,000%.
Right? They're going to try to make this like, well, it's just like Russia, just like Soviet Union. It's just like, but it's like, listen, I know that the wheel wasn't invented in one place.
Listen.
Right? And they called it the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that there were wheels all over the rest of the world somewhere else, and they called it other things. And it is a specific function of how to do something, right?
Yep.
Just because we want our tax dollars to be used for like healthcare and education and all the things that help the working class, like paternity leave, maternity leave, daycare, and then like lowering food costs. Like all this stuff is economical stuff that's responding to capitalism.
Listen,
it doesn't make us a Marxist communist. It just makes us what this current moment is demanding.
But
right?
you want all that, and they just passed $95 billion to go bomb Iran.
Oh,
right.
so they did release more funding then.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was saying Hexec was up there asking for the money, so
I know John Ossoff read him for filth too, and it was like, "Yo, you told us that you had already beat Iran. Why you asked for more money?" And he said they were
demolished.
He said they had no military capacity. So what are you talking about now? No, what's curious about this though, and Jasmine, I would love to hear your thoughts about some of this as well. Is this is the nerd, the scholar in me, right? Cedric Robinson says there have always been these sort of, he's a black Marxist thinker. He wrote a book called Black Marxism, and he said there have always been these revolutionary movements across history, right? And these movements, and he makes a claim that he says something along the lines of, I don't want to actually quote him, I'm paraphrasing here. He says something like socialism existed long before Karl Marx had come on the scene.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? The people were sharing. People were not actually sort of hyper capitalists. That in and of itself has a beginning. And so what I love, so what I'm hearing in terms of this Red Scare foolishness is ultimately just it's an attempt, quite frankly, to distract from the real everyday issues that a lot of people are really struggling with. And so I'm curious, we were getting into it. You're going to forgive me for this. I was saying the DSA, they have socialist in the name, but if we're talking doctrinaire Marxist socialism, I don't think the DSA is doing that kind of thing. But help elaborate on for us how you all are moving, what you think as someone here who's been doing the work.
I think it's really simple. Being a democratic socialist just means that we want people's basic needs to be met, and that we understand the root of a lot of people's problems, of the working class's problems. And that root is capitalism. And we want to free people from capitalism. And we want to meet their basic needs in doing that. And that is our ultimate goal. Because, we want to reduce unnecessary suffering. And capitalism is inflicting so much unnecessary suffering on our people.
Absolutely. No, I don't mean to interrupt. I'm over here, amen, cornering you. I genuinely, the other part about it too is, and I'm chronically online, but I'm actually online for not on the social media stuff. I just watch animal videos on YouTube. But when I am on the social media, one of the things that came out recently a few weeks ago, and then we'll get into current events, Stevens. I know you want, but the one thing that I will say is that this Elon Musk just became the world's first trillionaire, and so many people on social media were Forbes is over here oh my God, we've got one, right? We've got a trillionaire, and so many people on social media made this really astute point that it was it is actually an indication of how terrible this world is that one man can amass at least. We cannot fathom what $1 trillion looks like.
Exactly.
Do you know? We have no clue. And what does one I don't care how many kids he has, right? What does one man with 30 kids, how many kids he has, what can he do with all that money? He can't. It's actually a testament to the moral bankruptcy of this particular world. So I love that you're criticizing and critiquing capitalism and trying to get people's needs met. So I'm just here echoing with you. And
there should be no more billionaires. Forget trillionaires.
Listen,
let's get rid of billionaires. There should be no more billionaires. What are they doing with all that wealth? Just like we can't.
All right. Now that's that Bolshevik stuff starting to creep in a little bit. This is a capitalist country. Capitalism and apple pie, okay?
The feds are listening.
But let's dive in a little bit into because we have some important matters that have been going on here in Houston, and the biggest concern regarding DSA, and then we can move on to the biggest news in Houston, has been how does it really look like on the ground, right?
Yeah.
And because we talked about the framing that the right was trying to make with the whole DSA is just a whole bunch of brown and black communists from the third world taking over, and then you have the elite establishment Democrats just making it into this white yuppie takeover of the gentrifying kind. And then we spoke about it looks different in every city. And I haven't been to a DSA meeting in like 6 years. I mentioned before that I had earned their endorsement when I ran for Congress back in 2020, and that was the last time that I was in that room because then COVID happened and then we had to social distance, right? And so I haven't been back since. So we have a current DSA member and organizer here. So I wanted to ask Jasmine, like, how is the makeup of the room now looking? Because when I was there, it was, I would say, 82% white. So...
Yeah, and I think maybe back then, I think that was a pretty fair criticism. I think that now things have changed. You know, our two co-chairs, none of them are white. You know, we got a Vietnamese co-chair. We have a Latin American co-chair. I myself, I'm a Mexican Iranian. I was leading the immigrant justice work. And I think it's a testament to Houston and just how many people believe in socialism, how many people believe that a better world is truly possible. And they know that, you know, the root of all of these problems is the fact that their boss is abusing them, the fact that they're waking up every single day, they're going to work, and they're not working for their own paycheck, they're working for their boss's paycheck. And they understand that that's a commonality that, you know, we all share. And I think that, you know, right now in this moment, we're trying to organize against that, and you know that comes out in a lot of different ways. It comes out through the immigration stuff as well. Like we've been hearing when we go to talk to day laborers on the ground, we hear about how they're starting to get threatened, you know, wage theft. People are calling ICE on them.
We've seen those stories of people get hired to do a roof job and then they have ICE called on them when they wrap up.
Oh my God.
They're like, we're not going to pay you. Otherwise, we're going to call ICE, so you don't get to have the wages that we promised you. You know, that's the reality of what people are facing on the ground. And when people hear about our work, they're realizing that we're out there in the community, and that attracts people from, you know, all walks of life, all races to come and join us in this struggle, because it's a struggle really for all of us.
And I would say also, it's not just y'all. Socialism is spreading all around Houston because there's another organization called People's Socialist and Liberation, or the Party of Socialism and Liberation.
Yes.
PSL. And that's what's going to lead us into a perfect segue to their more, specialized skill set, which is protest and rallies. And they're the ones who are really starting to be one of the main coalition organizers for Lorenzo Salgado Araujo's current, I would say, response, right, to his murder. PSL disrupted just yesterday a city council meeting for public comment. And I remember being in those meetings and you know, there was a disruption here and there, maybe somebody say something, but most of the time when they go to the mic, this was like from the seats.
Oh wow.
With the banners.
Oh wow.
Calling them out, and you know, it wasn't one of those quick like, hey, let's pull you out. It's kind of like they didn't want to really create that type of scene, so they were just kind of like waiting them off and like, come on, let's go. But meanwhile, you had some of those young organizers saying some, I know they went to sleep thinking about that city council, because they put it on their lap, like, this is y'all, what happened is your fault, like, you need to accept now that the blood it's on your hands. It is your policy. It is your silence and compliance. It is your fault. And you can see it, like the pictures and images. The city councils now has that look on their face of like, we hope that this can kind of disappear, but it's not going to disappear. So let's talk about that. Like some of the work that's been going on for the past 2 weeks since the murder has been really using this moment, and that's really the best way to present it, is like, this is an opportunity in the moment to rally the entire city behind a cause. In this case, is the martyrdom of Lorenzo. So how has, because I haven't been to any of the protests, I haven't been to none of the things, how has the energy and the presence been on the ground for that?
Before you answer though, for our viewers and listeners who are not familiar with the details of the case, can one or both of you provide the details of what happened to Lorenzo for people who may not be familiar?
Okay. I mean, I would say, 2 weeks ago on Tuesday, as right before 7 a.m., Lorenzo was picking up some of his workers. One of them is his brother, and it was a total of 3 other gentlemen that were on the van with him. And he was driving, and then he was starting to get pursued by 2 unmarked vehicles, and he was trying to avoid them until they kind of pinned him and there aren't any camera angles on that moment, but there are cameras from several businesses that show him just driving and like these two other unmarked cars just chasing him.
Jesus.
And so he ends up being shot and killed. The 3 gentlemen that were in the car with him are being detained because they're all undocumented.
Oh, Jesus.
And so there's been pressure being placed on them for them to self-deport.
Oh, my God.
There's fear for retaliation and other types of harm to come their way because their testimony would pretty much just send off this ICE investigation, self-investigation through the, I would say, garbage disposal,
right.
Because they're trying to, because FBI now said that they're not going to be investigating ICE shootings. ICE is going to investigate ICE shootings. So, we have that. So so when that happened, the news really broke out, and like this is, paired with, because just a week later, a Colombian he wasn't undocumented, he had a work permit up in Maine, got shot and killed. That one was more egregious than everybody saw it. The agent that shot him in that case is actually an extremely violent and abusive man with domestic violence, and it's documented. There's recordings of him threatening not just one of his ex-wives, but his daughters.
Oh my God!
Violent stuff that I won't repeat. So now the focus is like your hiring practices. Why do we have this gentleman there, right? Which we already know why. Because as long as you pledge loyalty to Trump and you show that you're willing to be violent for Trump, you got the job. So
all law enforcement agencies recruit very nasty, domestic, abusive type people all the time. Cops tend to be like that. It's just I didn't mean to interrupt, but that's the trend with them right now. So here in Houston, though, it really struck a chord because Lorenzo, first and foremost, is a Houstonian. And everybody knows, and I think Christian Menifee said it perfectly in that one first press conferences, like, we are not Houston without immigrants. Everybody here knows an immigrant, undocumented or documented. Exactly.
So, like, he is a Houstonian, and he worked for 35 years. He's been in this country, raised 3 sons with his wife, all of them going through college. The youngest one is still in college. The oldest one is an educator, a teacher. And when I say that Abbott, Trump, whoever in charge of ICE, probably once they start to get the details, it's like, y'all got the wrong one. You got the wrong one. His oldest son is tall, handsome, well-spoken, and meeting the moment. He is meeting the moment because otherwise, what are you going to do for your father? Right? And so for me, it's been beautiful to watch the neighborhood, the community rally around him and uplift him. PSL is doing a great campaign. They got posters out for, like, Lorenzo's face on it, ICE out. They've been doing the ICE out posters even before this incident, going to different businesses. And so, that's kind of why I want to tag along with you and see how your experience has been with these rallies and gatherings for Lorenzo.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, I think even before this, we kind of saw this murder as an inevitability. We have been organizing as the DSA against HPD and ICE collaboration for, over a year. And for the longest time, Mayor Whitmire and the city council members were telling us there is no collaboration. There is no collaboration. And they were just lying. They were lying to the public for months. And eventually, with our continued mobilizations, we were doing something very similar. We were going to businesses. We were doing safety planning. We would ask businesses and workers, hey, is there a plan for if ICE shows up at your workplace? And then we would try to put signs, ICE is not welcome here. And we would talk through, like, is there a safe place for your workers to go? We were talking to day laborers. We were giving them, know your rights cards, making sure that, asking them, have you seen ICE in the area? And then we know to, alert our rapid response networks about that. And so we knew that we would have to build this community response because, look at the response that our elected officials have had, or really lack of response.
Exactly. No, I'm just over here, amen, and so I wanted to hear more about, have you all been doing any protesting work, or is it? I'm curious about.
It has been a lot of coalition work. We worked on an ordinance that got passed actually at City Council. It was an ordinance that really just protected people's Fourth Amendment rights, and we were going to limit the amount of collaboration between the Houston Police Department and ICE to the fullest extent possible under state law. So we would just have police officers just not call ICE if they see an ICE administrative warrant in their database. So what the police officers were doing, and a report recently just got released on July 15th of all of the instances in the last 3 months that HPD has asked for somebody's immigration status and that they've actually called ICE on somebody and then had them, transferred. And so it was about 100 calls in 3 months, and then 19 people that were transferred into ICE custody. And this ordinance would just stop them from calling ICE automatically, because there is no Texas law that says that they have to call ICE when they see an administrative warrant, because that administrative warrant is just internal to ICE as the agency. It's not a judicial warrant. It's not signed by a judge. It doesn't give anybody the permission to detain or arrest anybody.
So you all are doing the Lord's work in terms of like figuring out the information. Go ahead.
We were successful in this mass mobilization for months. We had all kinds of community members, people who had never spoken at city council before, turning out to the evening city council sessions. And that's, DSA is going to do another mass mobilization at the end of the month for the last evening council session, which is the last Tuesday of the month. And we were having so many community members going and testifying, and eventually we were able to get this ordinance actually passed.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And what happened is that Governor Greg Abbott put the hammer down on us. And so he threatened to withhold $114 million of grant funding. And the majority of this funding was FIFA funding, and the rest was police funding.
Wow.
So we are supposed to believe that Republican Governor Greg Abbott is freezing police funding for the city of Houston and going to withhold FIFA funding from the city of Houston right before the World Cup. That's what we're supposed to believe.
We knew he wasn't going to do that.
And, the city had the opportunity to fight this. They had the opportunity to fight this through the legal system. They could have, so the mayor has sole authority over the city's legal department. And so he could have ordered city legal to file a temporary restraining order so they could unfreeze the funds, and then we could find out if it's even legal in the first place, for Governor Abbott to try to withhold this money. And they chose to not fight it at all. They just immediately, they all folded.
And Stevens, you know that this is something that has been consistent as well too. That city council seems to fold in the face of the slightest amount of pressure, which I just. But you know what's crazy about this too, though, is that we have so many people on there who claim to be progressives, though, right? And so, where's the principled stance from city council members to be able to? This is bringing out some like crazy emotion. But realistically, though, I mean, this is, and we all know that Greg Abbott has a spotlight on Houston, right? That he wants to dismantle the little progressive, the progressive movement that's already down here, the leftist movement that's already down here. He wants this, and when you have city councilors, in addition to a mayor, that are folding in response to the slightest pressure,
right? And this is why the Letitia Plummer race is so important. Because if you don't have to, if you can't move and mobilize your funds from the state level, Harris County, and people don't realize, is larger than 23 other U.S. states, 24 U.S. states, and it's got a GDP larger than many countries. Harris County. So if you have Letitia Plummer, who's a Democrat, win the seat in November and keep it in Democratic control, then funding for Harris County and Houston can become more of a flexible thing, while you deal with Abbott always trying to cut off the resources because he doesn't like the way things get done here in Harris County. Now the hope is that also in November we send Abbott out packing, which I'm gonna bring back the whole Abbott.
Do we have anybody I'm not keeping up with the statewide?
This is Gina
Hinojosa.
Gina
Hino. Okay, Hinojosa as well. Oh, do they have a chance, or break it? I want to hear the.
I think she just has the blue wave chance. She's hoping there's a blue wave that she just could catch.
Oh, she's trying to ride Talarico's tail.
Yes, exactly. That's
we talk about Talarico.
Listen. So much to say about Talarico because it's the most fascinating race of I think the entire slate.
I was going to say
all over the country.
I think this is probably the most interesting, and fascinates probably the most. If he wins, it is going to say a lot about national politics. But we'll get to that later. I was just curious, if she's trying to ride the Talarico wave.
No, but as we move towards that direction, because I definitely want to touch that closer to the 8 o'clock hour when folks start calling in. So now that we are in this moment, there's a rally on Friday at which park is it?
Hidalgo Park.
Hidalgo Park.
So Friday, Hidalgo Park, 6 p.m.
Okay.
Saturday at City Council, at City Hall at 10 a.m.
Okay.
And then Sunday, 4 p.m., and it's at Montgomery County Processing Center.
Okay.
So, I mean, it is sustained protest. And, like, that's really what we need. And I'm so glad to see the disruptions at City Hall, at City Council. I think we need to continue to do that.
Absolutely.
And, like, the public pressure works. I mean, look, John Whitmire originally was not calling for an independent investigation. After the public was inflamed by this, that's when he's changing his mind, changing his tune.
And the change in the tune was a weak one too, because he was like, yeah, you know what, we do need a private investigation. So who's gonna do it? Texas Rangers. I'm like, come on,
my guy.
Get out of here.
Come on, my
but God. He's trying to look like he's doing something when we really know that he doesn't want to do anything.
And I think I went to one of his press conferences. I went and I disrupted it at the very end. It was the first time I'd ever done that, and it happened, like last week. He was talking. It was all nice, pretending like Houston was doing everything right.
Right.
But for me, he wasn't even doing the bare minimum, because in Minneapolis, after they killed Renee Good, after they killed Alex Preddy, the mayor of Minneapolis, I mean, he's like kind of middle of the road, kind of Democrat. He's not a progressive. He said ICE out of Minneapolis, and the mayor of Houston, one of the most diverse cities in this country, can't say ICE out of Houston.
Right.
And like that to me is like, you're just not meeting the moment. Like, you are compromised.
Right. Yeah.
What is this response? I mean, and we're talking about, regulating ICE. That's what I've been seeing. People want, ICE needs to wear body cameras, they need to have better training. And it's like, maybe they shouldn't exist. Maybe we need to abolish ICE. I mean, that agency is barely younger than me.
Right.
And it's like, okay, maybe there was a time before ICE, there will be a time after ICE, and we need to get to that time after ICE, because what they really are, I mean, ICE is a domestic terrorist organization.
I like the way that Abdul Zayed and the Senate Michigan candidate, he said ICE is not about immigration. ICE is about mobilizing a paramilitary Gestapo force for the Trump administration to pursue his enemies. That's it. The ICE immigration is just the cover to get the funding, to get the excuse that this is what they're doing. But at the end of the day, ICE is being used ultimately to knock out his enemies, which this is going to segue easily to the next point with DSA is the Democratic Socialists. I don't want to call it renaissance just yet. I would say awakening, right? Curiosity has now led to the next step, which is we are now going back in the time machine, Biko, because it is McCarthyism time.
Oh, man, what?
McCarthyism time, because the Bolsheviks are taking over the Democratic Party. So apparently the McCarthy, investigations and all that are no longer a bad thing under the history of the United States, that before we looked at it as like an example of how the United States violated rights
1,000%
and all those things.
Absolute repression.
Now the Republicans like, actually no, it was a very successful tactic, because that's how we protected the United States from becoming communist over the past 50 years. And so now you got Marco Rubio and Stephen Miller saying that they're going to be expanding their definition on left-wing terrorism, so they can include everything from Democratic Socialists, people who identify with anything that has to do with anti-Israel conversations. Anything that's too extreme on the left is now part of this new McCarthyism type of approach, this boogeyman. So DSA is square on the target right now, because DSA is the one winning in the booth. So that's why they're doing this. So how has that fresh set of news been like hitting y'all on the DSA here locally in Houston?
I mean, honestly, like we're not paying attention to the Red Scare, because the Red Scare has always existed with us. They were always going to call us communists. I mean, how long have they been? They've been calling like Kamala Harris a communist. It's like, okay,
it's lost its meaning.
Like people are over it.
Meaning.
Like, hey, at that point, okay, you're going to call me a communist too, whatever.
Fair
man.
enough, right.
I love when Trump will be like, Kamala is a communist, jihadist, extreme. I'm like, now he's just throwing words. And it's just overall become like laughable, but it's quite serious when they have the funding to like actually try to, and the flock cameras, right? To follow people. We have the cases, I think in Arizona, where they gave 30 to 100 years to about 5 activists.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of them is getting 30 years for just moving pamphlets from one place to the other, not even
little
involved.
zines.
The little
Know
zines.
your rights zines.
I think what's so curious about this, and I think on the one hand, folks like yourself and your organization, you all have to continue to do the work because that's the work that needs to be. I mean, I always bring up the Black Panthers. I don't know if you listen. I always bring them up because they are this really Black radical organization, and one of the big things that inspire me about them, and Mark Hill has talked about this too, is that they were anti-capitalist, sort of imperialist, but they were also pro take care of the people, right? And so there's something incredibly generative and powerful about the DSA just saying, listen, you're going to call us what you're going to call us, and we're going to go about the business of doing our work. I think that's absolutely incredible.
We have no other option because it's like, who's going to protect us? It's not going to be our local elected officials. It's certainly not going to be the police that are going to protect us. So we have no one left to turn to but one another. I think that's why we have to build those networks of protection, support. I mean, that's what the Black Panther Party was doing.
1000%.
They were protecting each other.
1000%.
They were making sure that they had systems outside of these pre-built
1000%.
institutions to support their own community. And that's what we need to be doing too, because I mean, we don't know how far this fascism is going to stretch. I mean, look at what it's already done to our community. It is, Lorenzo was not only like murdered, but he has taken away that sense of safety. This murder has taken away that sense of safety that people all around Houston used to have.
Right.
You know, they used to be able to feel like it was safe. And now, when I talk to community members, they're telling me like that sense of safety is completely gone. And so what do? We have to ask ourselves as leftists, what are we going to do now? Now that there is nobody here who's going to protect us, who are we going to turn to? How are we going to create those networks? And that's the work that we're trying to do in the DSA through our organizing, through canvassing. I mean, after Lorenzo's murder, we went to the East End and we canvassed. We knocked on people's doors. We went to the memorial. We made sure that people had rapid response hotline numbers so they knew that there is a number that exists that you can call to report a suspicious activity or something that you might think is ICE, so then we can go mobilize.
1000%.
And hopefully with our people power, we can make
1000%.
ICE act better because
1000%.
they know that they might be surveilling us with the flock cameras, but we are surveilling them back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this is also one of the moves with the Black, hence the guns and everything, right? The aesthetics of it all. They were the big power. The big issue here is that these folks, particularly Black Panthers, they're not over here like toting guns just to tote guns. It's in large part exactly for what you said in terms of protecting their own, creating networks of safety for those folks. I think the other piece too, and I love that you brought up like building people power and building up a network. I think the other piece this is nothing against the idea. This is me thinking the other side of it is how do we protect ourselves from a government that has incredibly wide scope and massive resources, right? This is the one thing that to be frank with you, I'm concerned about, if not a bit terrified of. You think of like Donald Trump has wielded ICE as his own Gestapo force. Do you know what I mean? There's a very real way that is actually what's going down. And there's a very real way that the Democratic Party establishment does not seem to have a grasp on how to genuinely push back against this. Right. Not the DSA members. I'm talking about Democratic. I'm talking about, I shouldn't be naming names, but the King Jeffries and the Chuck Schumers of the world who are sort of sitting here and watching. And the best thing to say is, oh, no, like, don't be so nasty, ICE. Like, that's more or less like their approach. And so what is it?
Decorum, please.
You know what I mean? Civility, fam, right? And these people are walking around in shiesties, like covering their faces,
right,
murdering people in the street in cold. And to be frank with you, this is my reading of it, and we can get into this a little more. ICE for me is an extension of police, right? So in the police state, in the all of this is of a piece in my head. So when we say abolish ICE, I think we're also saying abolish the very idea of policing in this. But there are other ways. To create safety for our community.
And this is where this is where knowledge is a burden, right? Because I tell people I'm a social abolitionist, and they're like, oh, well, what do you mean by that? And like the abolition part, and they don't realize that when we say abolish ICE, we would say defund the police, abolish the police, is based on the fact that we know that the police did not become the police just because people were like, we need something to have security.
They did not emerge.
They literally descended from slave patrols.
Listen.
Because, there were literally laws being written like, wait, we have too many strong, young, Black enslaved men here.
Yep.
We need
and
one
women,
white
right?
person per 5 to oversee. It's like, wait, there's still too many of them. And, like, you know, we got to hold them in place for 24/7. So let's go ahead and make sure that we institute, and I'm reading on this to refresh my memory, it's like, institute curfews and they deputized people with the right, white people with the right to go into anybody's home and check for things and make sure there's no, like, you know, things that they shouldn't have, paraphernalia, and then they go back out. Slave patrols are where police departments are actually emerging from. They emerge from. So when you say abolition, yes, the police too, but, like, what does public safety look like?
That becomes the question.
When we first take care of the needs, right? The food, the education, the healthcare. Because I promise you, when people don't have lack, there's less crime.
Now, that's literally what that's literally what I was thinking, is that, like, people think of it as a fantasy, right? That if people actually, if their needs were actually met, a lot of the things that we understand as harm, robbery, theft, all these, that stuff over time would decrease significantly, right? Right. I think it's super crucial to name that. If I can just hop back here on the slave patroller piece real quick, and then I want to hear from y'all, because but I also want to say here too, you know, I think it's 1852 Fugitive Slave Act. This is maybe it's 1851, one of those. I'm not a historian, don't get me in line, but the Fugitive Slave Act in the middle of the 19th century deputized any white person, and I think you're absolutely right about this, Stevens, deputized any white person to, by necessity, if they encountered a black person in the North, to check and see if they had freedom papers. Now I'm thinking about this in relationship to documented, undocumented discourses, right? I talked about this at City Council years ago. If you didn't have freedom papers as a black person, you could easily be caught by the patrollers and taken back down, right? Back down south, even if you were born free in the North. Right? So if we think about that precedent that was set in the middle of the 19th century, it's a short step from there to the contemporary moment when you've got people like Trump saying, let's revoke birthright citizenship.
Right, exactly.
If you don't have freedom papers, right? If you don't have the kinds of papers, the kinds of documents that we deem legitimate, we will absolutely deputize a group of people, a group of thugs, to either kill you or brutalize you. And I find it, I wish black communities could, I wish black and quite frankly, Latino communities could come together and understand these two things are of a piece of one another.
Right. Yeah. The coalition needs to, like, really come together on this, because the thing is like, I'm surprised that the actual police and police officers aren't organizing against ICE more, because one, I mean, law enforcement, they always say it's a brotherhood, right? Honor and all this, and you don't see any of these, like, undertrained practices happening, and you don't have an opinion about it. Like, this is supposed to be your city. The whole thing about, like, you know, like the whole
jurisdiction, all that type of stuff.
Romanticizing about police, and you watch it in the movies, and you see that one detective. You know, I love watching Chadwick Boseman and 21 Bridges. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but that's a fantasy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see any actual police officers be like, "This is my city. I'm proud of taking care of it." It's more like, "This is a job. Where's my overtime? Because we get paid a lot, and we get a gun, right?" But the biggest thing is, like, you talk about the freedom papers. Lorenzo was in the process of getting his work permit. He had a lawyer. He would meet with that lawyer. They went over scenarios, over what would happen if they get pulled over and all that. None of that had him prepared for being chased down by unmarked cars.
Listen.
Right? Because he said, you know, at one point expressed to his son, one of his biggest concerns was getting his equipment stolen or robbed, right? Because you run around with, like, very important equipment that's expensive. And the case in Maine with the Colombian young man who got shot with his 3-year-old daughter in the car, he had workers' papers, right? So they already said, "Oh, we got the wrong guy. It was somebody else." Obviously, it was the wrong guy, because both of them were doing it the right way, right? And then the whole thing about the masks, we now know why they're masked up. Because if everybody that is working as an ICE agent did not wear masks, we would have doxed so many domestic abusers, violent offenders, pedophiles, because already some of them have been exposed as pedophiles, and January 6ers, right? So it's like, you know, at this point, the ICE argument is a loser everywhere. That's why cities are feeling the pressure, because you just spent 10 years of Black Lives Matter telling us how police is important, we still need to have police, and then you allow another law enforcement that looks less trained act amok. So it's like now it's like I feel like the moment really has called for people to rebel against it, and that's what we're seeing actively.
I wonder, this is a question for both of you. What would that, well, I guess we're seeing it already with these mass mobilizations here in Houston. What does it look like for a certain kind of revolt and rebellion in this moment? So I'm curious, but I also think to get back to your point that there are also other ways to fight against ICE, which is to say you build your own networks and keep, you had the phone lines open. Hey, yo, they over here, fam. You know what I mean? Hey, yo, like, you know what I mean? Like these sort of quick moments and so there's something, I think we have to have an awareness of both, and it sounds like that's where you all are headed. And so I just want to just sort of acknowledge that, and also just, of course we went down the paddle roller and but there's something really, really important about
both, right?
About that kind of work.
So I think in the DSA we try to do two things. Yeah. There's, in a lot of different DSA chapters, there's organizing and then there's electoralism. Yeah. And so you see a lot of leftists will fall into like somewhere in between that spectrum. Some people are super electoral, some people are super into organizing, and we try to do both. Yeah. So we are doing the organizing, the building these outside systems of protection where we can rely on one another outside of institutions, but at the same time we need to build power within these institutions so we can try to protect our people and have some people who are actually representative of what we want in the government. So we don't send $95 billion to bomb some brown kids in Iran while people here don't have health care, they don't have housing, while people here are being murdered by our own domestic terrorist organization. I mean, they're going to try to call the DSA a terrorist organization, these other leftist organizations. You have a completely unaccountable agency that's going rogue, that's murdering fathers in cold blood on the street. 100%. That is state-sanctioned violence. That's a domestic terrorist organization. It's got to go.
And I'm telling you, they need to be careful with that in Texas, because Texas is a stand-your-ground state.
I'm
People
about to
have
say, guns.
And look.
Walk up to the wrong person with a shiesty on.
Look, right or wrong, you whatever you want to say, as somebody who's Latino, there's a lot of pride when it comes to male machismo and being abused and being emasculated, and especially like Lorenzo, like he is the prototypical like Latino father who worked with his hands building houses and putting his kids through school, and you murder him and you just murdered like everybody's father. Like everybody relates to that. It was hard for me. I'm the son, the youngest out of three. My father put all of us through everything with his own hands. So it's like, then you have that real Latino pride of like, you better not pull me over.
Listen.
Because we already know what's going to happen. And that's why they just put out the new thing like, all ICE agents need to have a vest that says ICE with khakis, and like they really want to make sure that people know that they're being stopped by ICE, because who's going to lose the argument? Like, I don't know who they were, so I shot them. I shot them. That
especially in Texas.
In Texas, like, you know what I mean? Like
open carry, stand your ground. Listen, you walk up to me in a pair of jeans and a t-shirt on. I don't know who you are. Like, I mean that. And these agents are running that risk now.
They're running that risk. Now they may be trying to like go around it by like targeting certain people, because like the real concern is that ICE has been using the database of people who have been like trying to get their papers. So many of the people that they've been like pulling over or grabbing out their homes are in the process of like doing something, so their names and addresses are there for them. So they've been like getting people that they could figure like safe to grab. But now with this like increased hatred for ICE in a stand your ground state, you don't want to see any like masked thugs running around your neighborhood, 100%. And you'd be like, oh, I thought they were about to break in my house.
Listen.
Oh, they were going for the neighbor over there? I'm sorry, I didn't know, because we have like a lot of stuff happens over here, so you're just being safe, right? Like they opened the door to that, and so now they're trying to reel it back, and we'll see what there could be more concentrated. They said that at first they're like not going to do any more traffic stops, but then Trump said no, we are going to do more traffic stops, so we'll see what's going to happen. But like we are now in a state where the temperature is high. Summertime always brings this out.
It does every time.
Always brings this out. So like right now with the rallies. And it's great that DSA and PSL are doing, the what's that, harnessing all this energy towards like rallies and doing things in the neighborhoods, gatherings, because we want to avoid people feeling like there's nothing that they could do. Yes. And then, somebody ends up doing something that is based out of passion and anger, because this is really an infuriating time to exist when it comes to this government. So I wanted to like pause right there and give everybody opportunity to prepare in the next 10 minutes. We're going to open up the phone lines. and call in, join the conversation, let us know what's on your mind. It's 7:51 right now, so in about 9 minutes I'm about to open it up, and then as I see them light up, I'm gonna put you on the air with us so we can continue the conversation. So
give us a phone number, Stevens. Let everybody know.
The phone number is 713-668-1230. That's a 713-668-1230. And now let's jump into where I want also folks to join the conversation with us. Is over the weekend, James Talarico made a couple Houston stops.
Yeah, I was curious. So we were texting about this earlier. So you got. I wish Maria was here because I didn't get a chance to. I didn't hear much about the event. Did you go to the event?
I did not go to the event.
Okay, because
there's a lot of other stuff going on.
So you got to understand, it has been a long-standing topic of conversation amongst the three of us about what James Talarico needs to do to win Texas in terms of winning the Senate. Stevens, you can break down your position, right? I'll let you. But one of the things that has been coming up a lot is that Talarico has to do a much better job of courting black voters, right? Because Jasmine Crockett was sort of a kind of totem for a lot of black women, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that she was just sort of this representation. She was really representative, and so a lot of people are pretty upset, not with the fact that she lost, but with the way that the Democratic Party sort of manipulated seemingly in terms of electability discourses around that. They didn't think Jasmine Crockett was electable, and so this is part of the thing. So I'm saying this to say we've been saying he has to court black voters. He has to court Latino voters. Yes, man. And so he comes to Houston.
Right.
And him and Christian Menifee do an event, don't they? Is that
No, not Christian Menifee. And that was a surprise thing because I saw
I thought they were together. I thought they came. Okay, go ahead.
So his event was at 2:30
right
to start.
The Axelrad event, right?
No, that's the one that he had his event. The Axelrad event was the relaunch of Letitia Plummer's campaign. And he showed up there. He popped up there. That was the surprise. And that's where I was like, okay, either somebody's listening to the show or one of our guests made a phone call and had some ideas that we exchanged. And that's the thing. We are here in the, the economy of idea exchange, right? Yeah. We want this to be something that I don't care as long as it gets done, right? Like, right. I want to see the thing done. So the conversation with Talarico has now move past the Jasmine Crockett question, because that was the whole thing. I've been saying Jasmine Crockett is a horrible hill to die on because she first and foremost is pro-Israel, or has been, because here's the latest development, right? First and foremost, Talarico said in his town hall on Sunday, if you're one of my supporters, keep Congresswoman Crockett's name out of your mouth. Right? So that got an applause. The room didn't have that many black people. Right? But there were black people there. Okay. I have a friend of mine who texted me, they put me in the front row because it was not a lot of black people.
No, they didn't, bruh.
So listen, he has done a phone interview with the Forward Times. The morning show here, Paris Ely, along with Miss Lydia, they did a phone interview with him as well.
Really? And fantastic.
He was on 979 The Box.
Yep.
And he's reaching out to Houston media and local and black independent media, which is good. He just needs to have a town hall that's actually full of black people, right?
He needs to go to Wheeler, probably Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church.
Yeah, and he will do great. Because he's gotten to these, surrounded, things and with oppositional people and all that, and he's handled himself very well. And this is a very different. Black people are not oppositional with him, and
they're not playing the op game,
that type of thing. So Letitia Plummer now is all right, here I am saying we need all of us to win. We're on one team, and that's what I said that he needs to do. That's what I said he needs to. He did just say, hey, listen, Jasmine Crockett, we need to leave her alone. She's not even running the race right now. Right. Leave her alone. Hey, Letitia Plummer, here in Houston, Harris County, y'all need to vote for her. I support her. Y'all support me. We're going to figure this out. We got 4 months. We'll talk about it. That's it. Now, make sure that you put in the calendar 18 more stops between now and November, and it would be good.
I was about to say, I think he's going to have to. I think that's a nice start, but I do think he's going to have to continue that work, continue doing that work. And I think the hard part is Dallas, fam.
No, Dallas is going to be easy because Jasmine Crockett is going to come in and be like, "Hey, just vote for my guy," and then be like,
"But that's if she says that. She might stay quiet, fam." And I know we shouldn't be talking about Jasmine.
Two more things.
Go ahead.
First of all, So Thomas Massie, the Republican who was co-sponsored the bill with Ro Khanna, the Democrat, to release the Epstein files, right? He caught Trump's fury and lost in the primary.
That's right.
So he's a lame duck. So he said, oh, word? Okay, so I'm going to put in this amendment for this spending bill that is going to put everybody on record that we want to cut off the Israel aid. And 103 Democrats voted. That's the largest Democrat vote from the House.
I know. I saw that come through. Yep.
So Christian Menifee, Al Green, Jasmine Crockett, Sylvia Garcia.
Jasmine Crockett voted. What? Oh,
I love to see it.
The guy from Austin. What's his name?
Brad Kassar.
Yeah, and then San Antonio, Joaquin Castro. Right, 9 out of 13 Democrats 12 Democrats in Texas voted.
75% of Texas
voted to cut off Israel aid. So Jasmine, she's been listening. Like, all right, Israel's not a good look. Now, how do I know this stuff is also working with Talarico? Is because Abbott was on Fox News yesterday talking about how Talarico is bad for the black community.
What? Oh, wait a minute! I almost cussed. Get out of here! Are you serious? Yep. See. You know, I think what's happening. Oh, I've got to hear I've got to hear your thoughts, Jasmine, about how's the DSA thinking about Talarico. I want to hear. Yeah. Well, that means that Abbott's scared.
Abbott is scared.
That means Abbott's scared because I don't think, what's the guy, Paxton's last name?
Yeah,
I don't white people, you know.
Yeah.
But sorry, but like, you know, like, I think he's terrified because Ken Paxton is a terrible candidate.
He's a terrible candidate.
He's a terrible candidate for for the general right now. And I think Abbott is like,
he's scared.
Talarico might win this jump.
and I'm gonna say this last point before I ask Jasmine, our Jasmine guest here, about the DSA dynamics with how they consider Talarico and such. But the real thing about Abbott being scared was the Lorenzo Salgado case, because when you had the incidents happening in LA or in Minneapolis, especially with the killings in Minneapolis, Abbott was still tweeting and posting crazy about, you know, being pro-ICE. But when Lorenzo was murdered, he didn't say nothing all week. He said nothing all week, and then when he did say something, he was like, yeah, we need to look into a private investigation.
Optics is bad.
And because the whole thing is this, and for somebody to say that, you know, Abbott specifically to say that, you know, black communities was not good for the black community, he just redrew districts that eliminated 2 black districts, right? And in those maps, he solidified the Latino voting power along the border that went for Trump during the 2024 election, which now have all flipped because Trump is persecuting them. So Abbott is sweating because he drew a map. He drew up a map that will spell his loss.
He gambled the wrong way.
So Jasmine, what do you think about the DSA dynamics with Talarico and Letitia Plummer? Like, have they reached out to, like, you know, see what DSA support or collaboration looks like?
I mean, they haven't reached out. This is my criticism of Talarico, is that I feel like he moderated his language. Like, I feel like he used to be much more populist, and then he, I don't know what happened, if he hired somebody.
The party shifted him. The party shifted him to the middle. That happens once you win the primary.
Or he's just playing it safe because he's looking at the numbers and he's just worried.
But that's game. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead, Jazz. Because we'll start rambling. Go ahead.
Because, like, I think right now he could just be saying abolish ICE, and I think he would blow up. I mean, people would be like, who is Talarico? Like, now people would actually go out and feel motivated to vote for him.
1,000%.
Because like now he's just like some other Democrat who's running. Who knows if that's going to inspire people? Yeah, there's going to be a blue wave, but you have to run on something. And right now, this is the big issue. I mean, like, this Houston. Somebody was just murdered here by ICE. Say abolish ICE. It's going to be good for you. I don't understand why the establishment thinks that, like, that rhetoric is too extreme. I think that he can win if he doesn't moderate his language anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that. I
think, like, you know, in terms of the DSA, I think we have a lot of kind of rank and file members who are going to go and block walk, who support these candidates, because we need to see change. I mean, we can't do anything in Texas if we don't get the governor, if we don't flip the legislature.
Right.
I mean, we have the Texas Death Star bill. And so, you know, throughout Texas, so I went to go and talk to some comrades down in the DSA in the Rio Grande Valley, where SpaceX is essentially like colonizing that entire area.
Oh my God.
They've taken over an entire beach. They have their own incorporated city there.
Oh my God.
And they are Brownsville is one of the poorest cities in Texas. And so Elon, of course, chose the poorest city in Texas. to establish his own little city
Little
and is now
empire.
using it as a sacrifice zone. So now there is sound pollution. There's, now it's like they have all these industries there that are polluting the atmosphere. There's like rocket launches happening. There's sonic booms. It's disrupting the entire community. And now the community that lives there, that's been there for generations, can't even access their own beach sometimes because it's closed off to some drillionaire, which is ridiculous. And then you have in Corpus Christi, we've got the water crisis. So I talked to the DSA, Corpus Christi folks, and there it's because the refineries are using all of the water. It's not the people, it's not the residents that are using too much water. They're not taking like 3 baths a day. Like, it is the refineries that are using all of that water, and the municipalities, they can't actually regulate these refineries because of the Texas Death Star bill. We can't, as cities, regulate more than the state regulates. And so we have to take this on as a state fight. And so we need Talarico to win. We also need Gina Hinojosa to win.
Yeah. Right.
We need to flip the legislature, and we also need the federal government to start to pay attention to states in the South, like Texas.
1000%.
Texas is used as the breeding ground for fascist policy.
1000%.
And so what is the federal government going to do, hopefully when AOC is president, to try and mitigate places like Texas that have been under fascist rule for so long?
I think this is, and just to echo your point and just to sort of piggyback off of it, you're thinking about this question of ICE, and I'm thinking about Talarico, but I'm also thinking about how what happens in Texas is either reflective of or anticipatory of like national politics too. And so you think about Talarico moderating his language in this particular moment regarding ICE in particular, it actually makes I think you're right, it makes a lot more sense for him to say abolish ICE, not simply because of Lorenzo, although he is the focal point for us, but because ICE recently has a track record of murdering people all across the country. Absolutely. It is not risky,
and not just at these stops, but also at the detention centers. They're dying in their custody,
1000%,
and
under very suspicious terms. And then,
has he been to Dilley? Has he been
to
Dilley?
Right.
I mean, Dilley is really what is an internment camp where they've got children there that don't have access to medical care. They don't have food. They don't have water. The kids there are extremely traumatized and depressed. And we've got Miss Rachel, who's this TV or YouTube kids personality, who's doing more than our own candidate for Senate. I mean, I think that he needs to go down to Dilley and say, this needs to be shut down.
Absolutely.
And when I'm the next senator for Texas, we're going to shut down every single one of these internment camps.
And I honestly think that he's just trying to make the populist message be his main message. He's joining in the data center fight. I just saw that he just posted a policy proposal about data centers. And then the flock cameras and the data centers are starting to merge into one main issue, because it's all tech and oligarchs and all that. So I think he's really just trying to ride the economic populist wave. I think, and this is the thing, his consultants and all the things, they're being smart by not doing the identity politics, social justice platform, being the front runner so much, because they think that that's what caused the losses for Kamala, caused the losses for Hillary, and all those things. So I think he's just trying to play smart, not to excuse him, but just to
do you
analyze it.
I guess my question is, do you think ICE is an identity? For me, that is a question of ethics, of life, right? So this is a question for both of y'all. Do you think ICE is an identity? I can see how Black Lives Matter, police get shoehorned into a black identity politics issue. But ICE isn't targeting. ICE is not only targeting specific. Renee Good was a white girl. Let's be clear. Alex Preddy was a white boy. This isn't. So do you, this is a question for you. This is also a question for you. Do you think that ICE, that saying abolish ICE will read as an identity politics issue when ICE has made it clear they'll kill anybody and everybody?
Yeah, I think that's the one part where he can really jump into that radical side of saying abolish ICE, because white people have their martyrs too.
Right. That's what
Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Matter of fact,
just a good lesbian woman having her own little time. She got, you know what I mean?
And especially Alex Preddy, because Alex Preddy had the right to carry.
Yeah.
And the NRA was quiet about it, and they have been bleeding members. They've been bleeding members. They're like, oh, you don't want to support our right? I thought you were supposed to support our right to carry. All right, so we're no longer going to be NRA members. So I feel like, yes, Talarico could just jump on this amp, abolish ICE, because it's not just an identity politics for just Latinos and undocumented people.
Right.
White people and people who with guns, open carry and all that. permission to carry, whatever you want to call it, have also been violated. So now they see themselves as part of the victims. And I think that would be a smart decision for him to just say abolish ICE.
I think that one, and I also think, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And I also think he could be stronger in the anti-Israel, pro-Palestine rhetoric too, probably.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? I think he could be more vocal about
from
that.
the religious side of it, just
hands
jump in
down,
it.
like, you know, listen,
hit us with some Bible verses.
Straight up. I mean, we know these parables of the Good Samaritan. Like, we know these parables that Jesus, he's a seminary, whatever. You know, we know these stories of the biblical prophet saying, welcome the orphan, the widow, and the stranger. Your job is to take care of the person who does not. This isn't me making this up, although I have a seminary degree too. My point here is that I would love to hear him be more vocal about these issues as well. But I'd love to hear your. Do you think ICE is an identity politics issue? Yeah, I'm curious about.
I don't think it's an identity politics issue. I think people all around the nation right now are watching.
Right.
They're watching. I think everybody knows an immigrant in the U.S. Odds are you know an immigrant, or maybe you don't like seeing a white woman be killed.
Listen.
And there being absolutely zero accountability for those ICE agents. I also think that, if Talarico wants to lean into the populist side, where's Bernie at? Like, where is Bernie Sanders?
Yeah.
And I think that just shows me
that is one thing. Bernie has not endorsed him,
Bernie's been quiet.
It's because he's been moderating his language. I think it's probably Talarico's team that doesn't want Bernie, which is, I think, crazy.
That's wild move.
Like, he's an extremely popular politician. You bring Bernie in, you could maybe secure this win.
Well, listen, I'm not going to say anything, but, I don't know if anybody on the Talarico team is watching or been watching, because you showed up to Letitia Plummer and you were talking very, very, very specific types of unifying. It's great. Now, next step. Where's Bernie at? Where's the populist move? Where's Bernie? Where's the abolish ICE? Write that in your pad and have it in the next meeting. So maybe that will happen. But and just let everybody know that we are now live. If you want to call in at 713-668-1230. That's 713-668-1230. We'll have the phone lines open for the next 30 or so minutes. You can join the conversation. So what about Letitia Plummer? How has that campaign been discussed or just monitored so far from the DSA's perspective? Have there been any interactions with the team or anything like that? Like, how's that reading?
I'll say that I think on an individual basis, there are people who are, in the DSA who I think are going to be planning on either have worked on her campaign or are planning to block walk for her.
Okay.
Because we need to see her controlling Harris County. We cannot let Harris County fall into Republican hands.
Right.
That's just ridiculous, especially not in this political moment. And I think it's also an opportunity for us as DSA to build our electoral skills, to learn how to block walk, learn how to talk to people at the doors, and do some of the more electoral side of organizing that maybe a lot of our members are not super familiar with. The people might be doing community gardening, they might be going and talking to day laborers, but it's different to do, a phone bank or to go knock on somebody's door and talk to them, have a political conversation with them. And so, using kind of these races as a way for, just rank and file DSA members to learn how to talk to people and touch grass, I think that's going to be really good for our organization.
Yes.
And we can also do coalition building. So all of these other block walkers, odds are that they also want to see a better world. They also want, groceries to be more affordable. They want to be able to afford, putting gas in their car. That you live in Houston, this is a car dependent city.
Right.
It's a big deal for folks. They don't want to see, their tax dollars going to funding ICE and then funding wars in the Middle East. And so we have a lot of common ground with these other folks who are going to be block walkers, other people who are part of the Democratic Party. And so we want to build, inroads with them, because I think that there are people in the Democratic Party who are kind of tired of, they're tired of these milquetoast politicians. They're tired of politicians like Whitmire, for example, who can't really stand on anything, who is just really a Republican at this point.
Yeah, he is. He goes to Republican fundraisers for Dan Crenshaw and stuff. So,
oh my God.
And then the party already
they already booted him out. I knew that part.
They stripped him.
I didn't know he was standing. Oh, we don't have to go down there. You know what you reminded me of, Stevens. This is total aside. This is one of those old people moments that you're just gonna have to deal with. Do you remember when we were doing Ron Gone and By Devin? I don't know if you were with us where we phone banked a couple times. I don't know if you were with us.
Just one time.
Just one time. Yeah, I think we phone banked. And I will
Mi familia vota.
Yes. And I remember, and I'm bringing it up because I remember the skills that we had to learn to be on the, we're over here passionate, listen, don't you know the report? We're over here hey, yo. But there was a way that you're talking to sort of everyday people who are not as tuned into these things. They may watch the news at night, and so I think there's a significant amount of skills, and even now there's something to be said for developing those kinds of skills, because oftentimes leftists get understood as all you do is you're just critical all the time. Like, this is how we're often read, is like just being critical, negative. But learning how to say, listen, do you know that they're doing this and this is affecting you personally? Right. Do you know that gas is going up because Trump got duped into going into a war with Iran? And so, like, making those connections, I just wanted to share, like, all I can share with you is that it was great learning for us. Me and Stevens, I don't know, Stevens might have already had it down, but being on the phone, I'll never forget, I was talking to this older black lady, and I was like, yeah, like, you understand that, like, Devin Anderson sets policies that might affect your son or your grandson and might have them in jail. And she was like, what, baby? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, oh, you don't have to worry about it at all. I'll make sure I don't vote for her. And you hear these moments, and, like, it's a small win, but it also shows, I think, and that's why I appreciate you for talking about the learning curve. It also demonstrates that, like, we can get people to our side.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like, a lot of times, everyday working class people, like, they don't have the time to be as plugged in to this as in politics and organizing as we are. We're in a very privileged position to be able to, do this kind of organizing, to, really think of organizing as our jobs. Because if you think about what working class people are doing, what Lorenzo was doing, he's out in the heat, what day laborers are doing. They are waiting for work, sometimes for hours. It's 103, 107 degrees outside in Houston. They're waiting out there. They're almost dying of heat stroke. Then they get picked up for work. Then who knows how long they're working after that, maybe an 8-hour shift after that. And you're expecting him to be also organizing a protest. It's like, or to do any kind of organizing work like this, or to be doing a phone bank, or to be going out and block walking. Like, no, that's a big problem that we have. And that's why, part of what we're trying to do as the DSA is to give people that freedom back. We need to have stronger labor protections so every single person has the opportunity to not only organize, but to also be a human being, be creative, be able to think, have a day off, have a vacation with your family, have a date night. And, like, I just think of, we were talking about, slavery before this, and it's like, how many people were Albert Einsteins that were just, that were slaves? How many people right now are the next, like, Steven Spielberg, who are, working at McDonald's? People just don't have the opportunity to think, to be creative, because they're working such long hours. And that's the DSA's project, is we want to give people that freedom back. We want to give them their time back. So you're not just wasting away every single day that you go to work because you have to, because your health care is dependent on it. We don't want you to be working not for your own paycheck, but for some guy to get rich off of your labor. We want you to work and get what you deserve from it, which is having affordable housing, having health care, and having the free time that you need to really be a person and to really thrive. And that's what the DSA project is, and that's why we need to organize more working class people. We need to organize electorally so we can have these labor protections for everybody, and we need to organize in these streets, because in the meantime, it's going to be a tough battle to fight against these fascists 100%. Who are out here literally killing us.
Right, because let's not forget that Trump has already floated many times that he is planning or considering or would like to have ICE at all the polls. He wants to have ICE monitoring the polls because he's so afraid and worried about the sanctity of elections, because voting has been under attack and elections have been rigged. Meanwhile, they got the White House, they got Senate, they got Congress, the House, they got the Supreme Court. So I don't know what the rigging was for that he's worried about, because apparently they got all those wins and that's not enough, and that means that it's rigged, which is most likely the case, because I remember him talking about how Elon Musk and those Starlink computers were really working very well with the voting machines. And so, I feel like that whole thing, like every accusation is a confession.
1,000%.
So we're looking at that as like really what's going on with this situation.
You want to know what's curious about that for me too, as you were bringing that up, is and I think this is a constitutive part of white supremacy, that whiteness. And I'm not. Listen, I ain't talking about white people in particular. Maybe I am. I don't know. But I would say there's something about white supremacy that will cling to power at all costs.
Oh yeah.
And so what makes Trump a white supremacist isn't simply his rampant anti-black and anti, and anti-Latino and Latino racism. It's not simply his anti-Arab race. It is also that he is willing to do whatever it takes to cling to power. And this is something that you have seen historically throughout the history of the United States, right? And in the West more generally, right? And so there's something about that, but like you bringing it up, like there's something pretty nasty about y'all have a trifecta and you're still terrified that you're gonna lose. Like that, right. That is a hallmark of whites. Whereas people, everyday folks on the ground, black folks, Latino folks, Arab, like everybody who's chilling, like we're not actually thinking about how to cling to like the last vestiges of living our lives on the day to day, right? So, and that's just what came to mind when you're talking about. He hit and Elon Musk is very similar. Like, you know how depraved you have to be to actually amass $1 trillion. That's not a. Sorry, I just like these moments are these moments.
And the class consciousness is really getting to that point.
Exactly.
Like, look, unfortunately, like 10 years ago, we used to ask ourselves this question about like we see all this going on, we see this on the thing, why people are not this and that,
bruh.
And like I have grown to understand that people are just busy.
Yeah,
they're tired. Yes. And so, like, I was, full-time student, didn't have to go to work, so I was going to organizing meetings and things and this and this. So I got to invest in it. Then, like, I would tell my peoples about it, my friends, my family, and all that, and they'd be like, man, that's crazy. Yeah, man. Well, yeah, I'm just about to, like...
I got to go to work.
Go to work, and so, like, I get it. But now we are at this point. Why? Because this corrupt administration has truly raided all the coffers. And raised everything through their, double dealing that they're doing and all that, to the point where everybody has to notice. Because, like, they go to work and they're like, well, I got less money and things are more expensive.
Exactly.
Now I'm paying attention. And it's not even like, I'm like, oh, well, told you so. None of that energy. It's really just like, I'm glad you're here now because we need you more than ever now.
1,000%. And you could recognize, you talk about amassing, double dipping, coffers, all that type of stuff. Trump, from what I've been told, has made more than $2 billion.
Yeah.
In
the most money he's ever made in his life.
And while being president. Like that.
While manipulating markets.
Right. You know what I mean? Like on some cow sheet type. Like, you know what I mean?
It just came out that there was an offer for people out there, investors, that for $100,000 a month, you will get a social media post from Trump that he's about to release before he releases it.
Oh my God.
So that way they can invest or trade based on what that tweet or that message is going to be.
This is crazy. Like they
literally said $100,000 and I'll give you my tweet before I tweet it out. That's crazy.
Do you know how corrupt? Like that's some corrupt. Like I can't say it on air, but that's some corrupt stuff.
It is.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and you would think, I think what's coming to mind for me is, we see quote unquote third world dictatorship countries, right? Like, we're not supposed to do these things, right? We're not supposed to succumb to these, and yet we have one of the nastiest, most tyrannical, corrupt people running the country, right? And people say this all the time, and I share this. Everybody knows, like, the Nazis didn't like it wasn't like, oh, by the way, the Nazis were like, everybody was like, listen, like, they just like out of the blue just started hating. That's not how this worked. Like, the Nazis developed a propagandistic machine that lulled all these people who were pissed off and upset and resentful. And the next thing you know, Hitler has risen to power. What's so curious to me about this particular moment is the people who are still trusting a tyrannical, authoritarian fascist. Even now. Right? Like, even now.
Yeah, the core of Trump's support is only about 30% of the Republican Party.
And yet
that's the MAGA people that will never leave them, no matter what. I don't know, it's just the weirdest thing.
See, but then you have the sycophantic politicians, Marco Rubio, sitting around him, kissing his, like there's a whole bunch of people.
Because he's waiting for his opportunity to be president.
You know what I mean? J.D. Vance, too. Like, all these people know this is foolish. The emperor has no clothes on, but no one's the kid that says, hey, fam, you're naked, right? You know what I mean? Like there's nobody.
Speaking of those kinds of moments, and
yeah, sorry, this is pissing me off. Go ahead,
Jasmine. Did you keep up with the World Cup?
Oh yeah.
Did you?
I
Throughout?
I did. I mean, not super closely, but I did watch. I watched all the Mexico games.
Yeah.
I tried to watch them. I tried to watch the Iran games too. I thought it was really cool because like for the first time I saw like Iran and Mexico, and so I'm Iranian and Mexican, and so it was really cool to see when the U.S. didn't let the Iranian team stay on U.S. soil,
Right.
even though they were playing on U.S. soil.
Right.
To see Claudia Sheinbaum open up Mexico and have open the team up with open arms.
Wow.
It was really nice to kind of see that, and then Mexicans were like cheering on the Iranians, and it was just such a nice show of like the good part of the World Cup is right, these cultures kind of coming together, celebrating, and of course always rooting for the underdogs, but at the end of the day, it is what it is.
I mean, listen, as somebody who's Colombian and
I
supported.
was about to say, go ahead, say.
I'm sad that Colombia didn't make a deep run. They made it to the limit, the knockout stage. They won their first one, but
they made it to six. They didn't make it to the round of 16.
They did.
Okay, let's say they made it to the round of 16.
That's where they lost.
Yeah,
but Emperor has no clothes on. You saw Trump.
Oh my God!
Giving out the medals, and then gives the trophy, and then it's time for the the lift. That's what they call it, right? The lift, where the entire team is waiting for that one person in the middle to just lift the trophy and they celebrate. And Trump is still walking across and staying on the side. And then you have the FIFA president come over and just start pulling him, come on, just come in. And then the lift happens and he's still in the shot. Everything after that, FIFA, Spain, and all that, they have altered it, so they removed him.
Oh, did they edit him out of the thing?
They got him out of there.
Are you serious?
Like he was not
photoshopped him like a.
It's not the first time he does that either.
Oh, I know. Everything's about him, right?
With football, 2 years ago, I think it was, or last year, Copa America, or whatever it was. He did the same exact thing. I think it was. I forgot what team it was that he did that to. But yeah, it was, to me, the World Cup is an opportunity for everybody to see how the politics of the world is
I
moving,
know,
right?
Mm-hmm.
The president of FIFA, that was his last thing that he had to deal with. Trump was literally on the stage, because now that they're done with this FIFA, they can focus on the next World Cup. That's going to be in Morocco, Spain, Portugal. That's going to be the next one.
Oh, for real?
And they're going to have the inaugural, because it's the 100-year anniversary of the World Cup. So they're going to have the inaugural matches in Uruguay, where the first World Cup was played, Argentina, and Paraguay.
Oh, really?
So the first 3 games will be there, and then the rest of the tournament will be in Morocco, Spain, and Portugal. And so the FIFA president doesn't have to deal with the U.S. anymore, as far as organizing for the event. So he doesn't have to stroke Trump's ego anymore, doesn't have to give him a fake peace prize, so that way he could be in his good graces and get what he wants, and the red card reversal and all that. But I thought it was funny to just see how, to the last second he had to deal with this guy. And then
do you think he was not genuine in this then?
Oh, it's all business transactions.
Oh, you don't think because Trump and the way they acted with each other, I was like, oh, they're buddies, they're friends. The president of FIFA with Trump, they seem to be I called him up.
The FIFA president is corrupt in his own way.
I was about to say he down bad too.
But just like him and many other smart people who do, like Mandani, it's you just gotta make Trump like you by being complimentary. Just be hey.
Oh, I kiss no one's ass. I'm sorry.
Real, I respect that.
You know what I mean? This is such a great. Just compliment something in the office. Give him a prize. Give him a prize. Give him because apparently the president of FIFA was advocating for Trump to get the Nobel Peace Prize, right? And then he didn't get it. And so he creates a peace prize from FIFA. It's here's your peace prize, right?
That's wild.
I've seen it, yeah.
And this is how also the Venezuela situation happens, because the person who did get the peace prize was...
I know, she offered it to him. Didn't she offer it or something like that?
She offered it. She's I'm received this, but I'm offering it to Trump for whatever.
Because she wanted to become president or something like that,
so
right?
When they took out Maduro, they hoped that they were going to get behind her, but instead they just put the vice president in, and it's no, we got the oil. That's what we wanted, so,
She offered that thing to him, and he was like, oh, clutch. I'm still not helping you out, fam. I was like, bro.
How does the Nobel Committee feel about that? You know what I mean? Do you just re-gift our gift? but no, the FIFA the tournament, man, it was beautiful because people saw so much beauty in the fan bases and how everybody interacted when they came to the U.S. They discovered ranch dressing, and they're like, they're taking bottles and bottles of them. And then, of course, like just overall, like how everything's available and like all the fast food. And then, of course, people like enjoying each other's cultures with like the celebrations in the stadium. It was amazing from what I've heard. I haven't gone to a World Cup game, but then like you see the political dynamics.
That's what I was thinking about is that, and I love that you brought up Mexico and Iran, right? Because what you notice, and I think it really sucks for, I'll speak for myself, for we Americans, that it took the World Cup coming here for us to see this. What I noticed as I was watching these games is America's not really that big of a deal, right? Mm-hmm. Do you know, like on the international stage, like there's a way that like, oh, Iran can't, like the Iranian team can't stay on American soil. We'll find a way. Like, you're not that big. You know what I mean? There was something genuinely, and there was a way, especially, and I think it brought me a lot of joy when the USA team lost. But there was something really, really powerful about the fact that the U.S. was just one country amongst others during the during this particular like FIFA World Cup. It was just like, oh, okay, like y'all made it, I guess, girl. You know what I mean? But it wasn't that, oh, like everybody was absolutely like rooting for the United States. Yeah, people in the stands were doing that kind of stuff, but the U.S. was one country amongst others. Mm-hmm. Right. And it really I think it really relativized and actually set in stark relief that the United States, whatever it might be in terms of its military status, it is not invincible. Mm-hmm. And I won't say most, but a lot of people, a lot of countries, a lot of political leaders are not interested in kowtowing to the United States imperialist agenda. So there was something powerful about
then,
that
of course,
politics.
When Trump made that phone call to get the red card reversed, that was like a faux pas across the entire world. Like, you don't do that. You broke the rules for them. And so it went from like the U.S. having this great little cool run to like, oh, y'all that corrupt. Like, and then y'all lose after that. Then it's like, oh, okay, so now you're.
But everybody started rooting against them. This is what I'm saying. Like, the United States became like persona non grata like nobody wanted to sit with us at the table no more.
And then the education, was like,
I called my boy up and they flipped over the red card. Everybody was like, oh,
the historical education that happened because of Argentina, right?
Oh, bruh.
Look, listen. First of all, Argentina, as a Latino American, Colombian, we do not cheer for Argentina. Fierce rivals and all that. But it goes deeper because Argentina's history of anti-black, indigenous genocides, right? Why Argentina is the only, and Uruguay too. Uruguay has also the same issue, but like they have more indigenous folks in there. But like Argentina really,
there ain't no black people on that team.
2% of Argentina's black. At one point, they used to be 13%, or no, 20%.
Wow.
Compare that to 13% in the U.S., right?
Wow.
So they put during the 1800s, they put a lot of their black population in the front lines of wars when they were fighting wars, so they just killed them. And they have this reverse one-drop rule. It's like if you have one drop of white,
you're classified as white.
Then you classify as white, right? And then so they encourage mixing, right? So as they were killing off the black men in the front lines, they were bedding their women. And then it wasn't white enough, so they put a law called blancamiento, which literally means whitening. Bring German and Italian.
That's Brazil tried something like that too, actually. But keep going.
That's why Messi's name is Italian, right? Messi is an Italian last name. So you have this white country that prides itself in being white. Like, I think one of the presidents recently said, like, the Brazilians came from Africa. The Mexicans came from the Indians. Us Argentinians, we came from the ships with pride. And so people are like learning this during the last 3 weeks of the World Cup because Argentina was getting these crazy favorable calls and they were being rough and not being fouls weren't being called and all that. So people were like, "Ooh, Argentina."
They play dirty a little bit.
And here's where my politics, geopolitical nerd sports stuff comes in. Was the game against England. Argentina beats them, and then several of their players grab a banner from the stands that says the Falklands are Argentinian, and the Falklands belong to England, and Argentina's never had the Falklands, Matter of fact, the Falklands is an issue because the dictator in the 70s of Argentina was so unpopular and losing the country that he started a war. Like, we're going to take the Falklands. It's Argentinian, right? So it's always controversial, right? It's mired in controversy.
Oh, that's nasty work.
If you say the Falklands belongs to Argentina, you were offended all of England, right? Because even they...
Oh, they wanted that smoke.
Even they did the vote in the Falklands of, like, who do you align yourself with? And, like, 98% said England. Like, we're British. Like, that's us, right? So... after defeating England, the players holding that flag.
Oh, that's nasty work.
You know, for those people who like to talk about, like, shut up and dribble and all that stuff, like, that's a clear political statement.
Yep.
The same player is the one that got red carded and thrown out.
Wow.
He is a player that got caught on IG Live while they were doing racist chants, right? Because there's a lot of racism. So it's like the World Cup finale was so beautiful because, first of all, Spain has Yamal, who is Muslim. His little brother, who's this, you know, small little, like, 3-year-old. You wouldn't know his brother because, like, Jamal looks like a mixed Arab, but his brother looks like straight, just dark skin, black. Like, you would, and it's just the cutest pair, and everybody just loved them for that, right? And then, like, the rest of the team and the way that they play, and it's just like they were way elite compared to Argentina. That's why Argentina had 0 shots on goal for the entire game.
Oh, they did. I watched the game.
That defense.
It was such. Yeah. Go ahead.
So it was a beautiful win. Like, matter of fact, I saw the story of Nico Williams.
Yep.
And he got subbed into the game late. And the first 2 things that happened was, first, he scores the goal that they called back on the BS. Like, oh, the guy got stepped on.
Yeah.
It was bad. But he's the young man that when the goal actually hit, he's the one that did the header. Like,
that's right. To pass it. Yeah.
And it landed to Ferran. Yeah. He was able to do the goal.
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah.
I heard his story. He's got an older brother. They're from Ghana originally. His brother plays for the Ghana team, right? And their parents, they walked all the way across the Sahara Desert to migrate. And, like, their story is incredible because when they finally make it to Spain, their father goes to England to, like, work with whatever pay that he could find. His mom worked, and it was his older brother is 8 years older than him, like, raising him. And so that's why every time he wins a medal in any of these tournaments, he always gives it to his mom. So it's like, for me, it's like Nico Williams was an unsung hero because he was there to score the goal they called back. He was there to place it with the header because he could have been one of those Ronaldo, like, selfish type
and get himself
try to hit it the goal and get blocked.
He
said like, nah, I got my guy. Put him right there. It was beautiful for me to see those stories, and that's the team that wins. And meanwhile, everybody sees what Argentina is, and I like to tell everybody this note. Netanyahu was talking about, we're Argentina, right? We are rooting for Argentina. And I look at the UN vote that was placed not too long ago, where they said declaring slavery, the transatlantic slave trade, as the greatest crime against humanity. Only 3 countries voted against it: the U.S., Israel, Argentina. So for me, the World Cup was a perfect platform for people to see how world politics has been operating when it comes to anti-blackness, colonialism, white entitlement,
1,000%,
and then genocide, right? 1,000%. And then who actually wins the game are the people who have, like, because Argentina, after they won, they lost, they started throwing blows.
Oh, I know. I seen them fighting, but they didn't show that on camera though. You know they didn't show that.
All the footage is now is out there.
I seen the other angles. See, I'm curious, and I would love, this is, that's not necessarily a DSA thing, Jess, but I would love to hear your thoughts. Speaking of geopolitics, and I'm low key, like, shifting, but I want to, like, how do you personally, as someone who's Iranian, how do you personally feel about this war, this thing? Because the World Cup opened, at least for me, I'd already been thinking more internationally. Y'all got to keep in mind, you may not know this, they do. I'm reading about the Black Panthers. They have this internationalist agenda. They understand that the struggle that was happening for oppressed people here in the United States is connected to oppressed people everywhere else. And so watching the World Cup, what were we about to say?
No, keep going. I'm going to add to that point.
Yeah, watching the World Cup, there was something profoundly sort of... watching Ghana's team, watching DRC's team, watching, the Iran. I'm watching all of these folks who were playing this amazing sport and coming... And it made me think about the United States is actively destroying a country right now. And so I'm curious, what do you like? How do you mentioned you were Mexican Iranian. How do you feel about the Iran war personally? I'm not not necessarily like DSA, but I'm curious about how you feel.
Yeah, I mean, it's really unfortunate because a lot of times you hear about the Iran war, and what you hear about is, the gas prices, you hear about the Strait of Hormuz, but you don't really hear about the loss of civilian life. And that, to me, that's such a big problem. And I think it shows the root of the problem, which is a lot of times it's just dehumanization. And just how accustomed we are as Americans to dehumanize, Middle Eastern people, Arabs. And that is what we've seen over and over and over again. I mean, since even 9/11, when I grew up in the post 9/11 world as an Iranian who had one of my last names is Iranian, I grew up with people calling me a terrorist. And so that's on one side, we have this war that's going on. It's just unnecessary. I mean, we're wasting not only so much money, but so much life. And that civilian cost, I think, is the most important cost that people should be thinking about. And in the genocide in Gaza, the same thing. I mean,
70,000 is the official estimate, but people have it at 100,000.
Well, we have a caller. Let me go ahead and patch them in and let's see what they have to say. Caller, are you there?
Yes. Hi. How y'all doing?
I'm doing well. Miss Lydia?
Hey, yeah. Well, I don't want to give my name.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Miss Lydia.
I'm teasing. Good afternoon, good evening, guys. Stephen, Dr. Biko.
Hey.
Jasmine. Is it Jasmine?
Yes.
Jasmine. How appropriate. Hispanic and Iranian. Oh my gosh, appropriate name. But yeah, I wanted to just kind of comment because when you guys were talking about the World Cup. Sorry if there's a delay on me listening to the show.
Yeah, we were.
Like y'all moved on. Okay.
No, we were because Iran was the team was also participating. So we have a war going on with this country, and also, by the way, they had the pins for the 163, the total victims that were killed in that girls' school. But go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely, and I totally agree with Jasmine about the the atrocities that are going on there and the attention that still needs to be paid to that situation. But the history of we talk about Argentina. And the relationship with Spain. Well, of course, the Moors ruled Spain.
Right.
The Iberian Peninsula. Right.
Okay.
Al-Andalus.
So you have to think about that. And then Spain colonized Argentina after that. So a lot of the culture, a lot of what the Moors brought to Spain was carried over to Argentina, and it's just kind of crazy to me how they pick up this European side of things when people don't really understand. They start as slavery when this particular history is, prior even to that, where black people were involved adjacently to what was happening or what was going on or the base of Argentina. So I don't know. I just find that not humorous, but
it's an interesting point.
Go ahead, Stephen. Go ahead.
No, I was saying it's an interesting point because Argentina, just like all culture, has black culture,
right?
That they eliminated the black people from. Like tango, everybody talks about the Argentinian dance, but it comes from African practice and tradition. So it's we understand very well that Argentina, when they whitewashed, they literally really did whitewash everything. But now the stories are coming out, and that's the great thing, is that people are now more aware of the actual history. And
I'll add just briefly here. This is one of the things. This is the nerd in me, by the way. There's a scholar. Her name is Marcia Milazzo. She writes a book called Colorblind Tools, and one of the things that she discusses is that when we think of anti-blackness, when we think of sort of anti-black racism, we often think of the American style of racism, right? The idea that segregation goes down, right? That or sort of explicit slavery or lynching or whatever the case may be. But Stevens is actually right. In South America, and particularly in Argentina, what happened was this actually concerted effort to get rid of the black population by way of racial intermixing. So whereas in the United States, segregation was the thing, you keep the races separate, right? You don't want right Jack Johnson out here with these white girls boxing, everybody's getting mad, right? That was a everybody was mad about that, right? But there's a very everybody was upset about that in the United States, but in South American countries, especially in the case in Argentina, it was encouraged that white or European white looking Argentinians would actually continue to intermingle with black folks so that they could eventually, and I think Stevens used it, was it blancamiento? Is that how you pronounce it? Blancamiento. Like that particular that was policy. Right? And so go ahead.
Why do you think the adverse, the segregation racism that's practiced here is different, opposite from what they were doing there?
It has a lot to do. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. What were you about to say?
The colorism involved, the caste system where people of darker hues don't get to ascend to leadership. The other things that we see in this society. Is that what they were trying to do there, or what's going on?
I think the main difference, I can't speak fully for, this book sort of like Colorblind Tool speaks to it more directly. What I can say about the United States, though, is the style of slavery that was practiced in the United States was actually pretty different from what was happening in South America. So like one of the things that we need to, that people don't really understand is that in South America, slavery was pretty nasty. And I mean, like, slavery was nasty in the United States, but in South America, particularly in Brazil, for example, they would work you to death. And you'd die in the field during the day, and they would just pick the body up, go throw it in a grave, and go out and go buy another one. Right? It was literal property. Right? So I bring it up to say that it was a pretty brutal style of enslavement in the United States. After the external slave trade gets abolished in 1808. The United States produces what they call an internal slave trade. So now people are getting sold up and down the Mississippi River. Why does this matter? Because ultimately this sustains a massive black population in the South over time. And so instead of just sort of working people to death because we were too valuable of assets, too valuable of commodities.
You got to manage it like cattle.
We were breeding.
Exactly, 1,000%. So the whole goal was not to work us to death, but instead to keep us alive. Once our utility ran out, once 1863 comes around and emancipation shows up, now people don't know what to do with this cattle, with these commodities. Right. And so that becomes, and at this time, and this is the last thing I'll say, sorry I'm being nerdy about this, but
I love it.
So once this happens, you have to keep in mind also what's going down is people are trying to understand where black people come from. And one of the theories is that black people don't come from the same group of people as white people do. And so we're literally a different species of folks. In the early 20th century, early 1900s, this produces the idea that these two different races, white and black, should not be sleeping with each other. Anti-miscegenation laws come on the scene because the anthropologists suggest that there are two different, it's polygenesis is what they call it. There's two different, black people are of a completely different species line than white people are. And so you wouldn't want a horse and a donkey to, they produce mules and mules don't make kids. Do you see what I mean? And so the theory was keep these races separate.
Well, no, I mean, that was not a theory. That was a lie perpetrated.
1,000%.
Slave masters were sleeping with the black women.
You're absolutely correct.
I want to clarify that and say, okay, that's a story that somebody made up.
That's the yes.
Produced the system.
No, it wasn't. No, I don't want to say that. No, this is truth. I'm saying this was the discourse that was peddled after black people, like you have to keep in mind, slave owners, white slave owners. Harry Jacobs talks about this in her narrative. White slave owners are constantly sleeping with their female enslaved, like their enslaved female, property. Right, that's what they're doing. You think about, Sally Hemings and Thomas Jefferson, those folks, right. So you think about that, but at that time, it makes economic sense to do this because of the one drop rule that Stevens was talking about. You have sex with the black woman, the child ends up being black, and therefore the child is also property. Once black people are emancipated, it means legally they're no longer property.
But I want to talk about the other side of that, though, Dr. Biko, the Latin American side of that. What was happening there? I think
for Latinos, Latin American is very different because it's about who came to the shores. There's a difference between a Spanish ship that is exposed more towards, like you said, the history of the Moorish Empire, and you have the mixing of Africans and Middle Eastern and that Iberian Peninsula. English, British people, they're milk toast white people, and they didn't have that diversity. So when you have Spanish conquistadors coming down, they already have that tan. They already have a little bit of that kinky hair and stuff. So it's like they don't have that race mixing faux pas really necessarily, but they do have the hierarchy, right? They do say who is going to be more valued and who is less valued. And of course, at the bottom has always been placed the darker skinned black folks. But then you have the folks who are in between. And then, like, for example, the way that I tan is a little more darker gold brown. And, they came up with a classification for that, which is trigueño. So they say trigueño, it means like you tan and you get dark, and and trigueño comes from the word trigo, which is like wheat. So you're the color of wheat, right? So it's like they come, and then you got mestizos, and then you have all these classifications because you have the indigenous population that they also mix in. So they call people literally indios in that classification. And so I think it's the overall exposure that was already there based on Spanish history and the population that they had. When you have people who are descending from British, what you call like the Pilgrims and who was it, the Protestants,
Puritans, and
Puritans. The Puritans. Then they already come with that, like, oh, we don't even know what a black person looks like, So it's like it's a different experience, and I think that's part of what creates these two different types of approaches of race and power between Latin America and what the U.S. did. And I think that's kind of like along the lines what you were curious about.
There's also another theological, and I'll be done after this. There's also a theological rationale for this that is happening across the West in general that has to do with discourses of purity, right? So I don't know if you've ever heard the sort of Christian hymn or, you read in the book of Revelation that Jesus made people white as snow. Right, there's part of that is baked into a certain kind of sort of racial discourse that is operative both in North and South America, but in different ways, right? The goal is to maintain the purity of the white race. And in the United States, that emerged as a discourse of segregation. But it seems apparently, and this is a little bit of conjecture on my part, but I feel comfortable saying it, the discourse of racial purity, or the theological discourse of racial purity in the South American context, particularly in Argentina, instead of separating the races, you just keep purifying the race until it gets white. Right, and so then mestizo becomes a problem.
There's no way to.
Go ahead.
Biko, there's no way to do that when you're operating with the black race.
Trust and believe. You are absolutely correct about this. There is no way to do it, but we also have to keep in mind that the way that race functions socially is that it is a story. It is a story about power that really articulates who. Like, what race actually is a barometer for who has legitimate access to two things. One, legitimate access to power, and number two, legitimate access to the means by which people live and die. That's what race is about.
And that narrative has been able to go global because of 100%. Colonization. And I think that's what we've seen. I'm in a history kind of mood, so Talarico, y'all have been talking about that, so I didn't want to keep going on with that. But I wanted to, because you're talking about the DSA.
Yep.
And I know Jasmine. I wanted to get her involved in the conversation as well. But historically, I was looking at the massacre in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I talked about that last week, right? And I'll just briefly say that part of that was. There was a party other than the Republicans and the Democrats, and this was in 1892, called the Fusion Party. And the Fusion Party was there was a group of Republican, well, at that point in that day, Republicans were what Democrats are now, and vice versa. But there was a populist group of Republicans, white, and the blacks in Wilmington, North Carolina, where black people were elected to offices. The mayor of Wilmington was black, the police chief black. There were all of these businesses operating between blacks and whites, and this was 1892, at the end of Reconstruction with Jim Crow. Okay, so my thing is, I had a thought, it's like, okay, well, and I didn't realize this, maybe you guys, I'm sure you know this, is that a party doesn't necessarily have to be federal. It can be local, or it can be statewide.
Right.
And finding out that the Fusion Party existed in the state of North Carolina, that's why they were able to continue on with this progressive way of living up until the end of before Jim Crow. And Jim Crow took hold. That's where the massacre happened. So my question is that creating a party locally, statewide, in order to achieve these goals, is that something? Think about that. Can that be revisited?
Okay.
In order to, kind of keep things moving. Just another thought I had. I wanted to get you guys, you professors and everybody else there to think about it.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And
appreciate y'all.
You have a good night. All right, we have another caller, and I'm going to patch him in right now. Last 10 minutes that we have. Caller, you're on.
Hey, how's everyone?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, man, I tell you, boy, y'all just prompted me to call. Now, let me get this straight. Did y'all just say that they want to produce a pure or keep the white race pure?
Oh, you talking about Argentina?
Yeah.
Yeah, Argentina back in the day, they this was like literally 100 years ago.
Yeah.
They had a policy where they were welcoming just German and Italian migrants, and this is after they already had reduced the black population and the indigenous population through war and massacres and genocide and disease. Basically, they got sick with plagues, and they didn't help them out at all. And they just have been focused on. And matter of fact, after World War II, Argentina is the one country of all the Nazis were actually allowed to.
That was the one that's where they all went. Yeah,
that's where all the Nazis went to spend the rest of the retirement and disappear. So
the rest of the retirement.
Argentina is the Europe of Latin America, and specifically the white Puritan Europe of Latin America.
Oh my God, man! I never knew that about Argentina, and then when you look at the name Argentina, it's like, are you Gentile?
That's not, yeah. You know what? I didn't even think about that. But and that's the thing. The World Cup does that. People only know Argentina. Yeah. And this is the thing about the World Cup people don't understand, is that countries around the world don't have power. There's only a couple of powers in the world: China, the U.S., and I put China first for a reason.
Right.
The U.S., Russia, and then you have Europe trying to figure out between France and England how they can continue to be power brokers, but they're really not. But football, soccer, puts everybody on the same field, and that for many countries is the only thing they have to offer. And Argentina really is only known for football, right? So you can say tango, but tango, as we discussed, is a music and a style and a genre that came from African traditions. So it's not really like Argentina's to claim without erasing black people. So really, people only know Argentina through that powder blue and white striped jersey and their football. So now that their image has been exposed, now people get to re-examine what it means to be on the world stage.
That's I'm glad you are sharing that, because man, black people you're gonna have to take your place amongst creation. You are the original people of this planet. Don't you know that in every nationality on this planet, the black woman's mitochondria is carried in? Every last one. So even the white people who trying to regraft themselves, you will never be able to graft yourself, because you all do know they tried that once before. And you know what? You know what the result was? Monkey and gorilla. Go look it up. And even to this very day, they would come out with a little 6-inch tail. I'm not making this up. Go read it. So they tried that, but you would never be able to destroy what is original. Never, because have y'all really actually took a step back and looked at this thing? How did white people get on the planet? They are not native nowhere on this planet. They're not a native.
I mean,
So
I think that depends on like if you believe in like evolution or aliens,
Right,
because
there.
like to me it's like white people are just like, you know, people that migrated from Africa all the way north to where it's less
bro.
sun, is cold, and they found some
Yeah.
caves to stay warm
I
and
know what they're
survive.
trying to say with that, but the truth is, two white people cannot produce black people or any other people, just themselves. So where did you come from?
I think. I mean, there's a lot. I appreciate your perspective. I'll share a couple of things here, just for clarity's sake. One is. We don't know, right? I mean, I think at the end of the day,
I wasn't there.
Yeah, you know, we don't. I would say
bro.
that I know there was a super.
Because-
Let me just finish
Yes,
if it's
sir.
okay. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
There was a supercontinent called Pangea. Whoever that supercontinent is where what we call Africa is today, and so and in many ways. You know, the argument for many anthropologists has arrived at this sort of what we call a monogenetic theory that ultimately people sort of emerged from the same source, right? And that ultimately as people migrated outward to different climates, now
From the same source.
right.
And what was that source? What was that source? If
That-
the black woman
you have to keep in mind,
a mitochondria is carried in every human being.
I think
Then what was that one source?
that one source was the people who were on the continent of Pangea.
Thank you.
I'm sure.
Right. I mean, the
let me
original
finish.
DNA code comes from Africa, and most likely it was a black
But let
person
me-
because you know it's hot and everything.
But let me.
And that
But let
name
me.
wasn't even existing back then.
But let me
So-
let me just offer a little bit of context
sir.
here. I'm sorry.
and then we're gonna wrap it up after
Yeah,
this. So
yeah.
thank you
Yes,
so
sir.
much for calling. Though,
yeah,
okay?
yeah. Here, but let me just offer it. But I would also say too, what we understand as blackness, whiteness, all of those things now, these are contemporary categories. This is the one thing that I want us to sort of. The Nation of Islam has a very different theory.
And when you say contemporary, you mean like right now? This is how we're understanding right now, right?
So when we make a claim that people come from the black woman, or we make these particular claims, but we're actually talking, when we say black in this particular case, we're talking about racial blackness, which is a category that is invented and developed as it is understood now, invented and developed during the period of modernity, right? In the late 1600s, perhaps even a little earlier than that, maybe the 1500s. But ultimately, when we're talking about sort of Africanness, Africans didn't understand themselves as black until Europeans came along the scene and called them such. And so it's important for us to just keep that in mind as we think about questions of sort of racial identity, that this stuff ultimately is a question, as I understand it, it is ultimately a question of power, right? We all do have different skin tones. We all have different languages, we come from different places, we adapt or don't adapt to particular climates. All of these things are true. And also, the discourse of race is not one read in our genes. It doesn't mean it's not real. It's very real. But what makes it real are the political effects. What makes it real is that race dictates who has a legitimate right to life.
Right.
And who is slated to die. The last thing I'll say, because we're coming up on time, you see this particularly in Gaza right now. What race functions in Gaza as a literal license for death. These folks are quote unquote human animals because they have been designated as such by, for lack of a better word, a white Jewish political class, right? And I don't mean that all Jews are like this. I mean this particular Benjamin Netanyahu, the Likud. That's specifically what I'm talking about. But they are using the discourse of race to establish that Palestinians are the wrong kinds of people, and that's what race does.
And I'm glad that you. And thank you so much to the caller for calling in. And like for me, it's like, look, I focus on what's happened in the past 150, 200 years in this country, understand how things.
Right.
Beyond that, like, look, I wasn't there, and I can appreciate all the theories and things that we know for certain and not know for certain, but I just know that the issues that we're dealing with now and the way that we have been classified based on our race now comes from really this past 150, 200 years of like how this, you know, government has been adjusting to our consciousness. And I'm glad that you brought up the Palestinian point, because that's actually how I wanted to bookend the World Cup discussion, is because, you know, as we moved through the tournament, you know, we went from cheering for our teams to like, you know, every African nation that kept advancing, we were like cheering them on. Of course, Argentina had that very controversial win against Egypt, and Egypt was one of the loudest pro-Palestinian teams there. When they had their first win in the knockout stage, because they lost to Argentina in the second knockout stage, right? After the first win in the knockout stage, that's their first win ever at a knockout stage in their history.
Oh, wow.
First thing they did is pull out the Palestinian flag, right?
Yep.
And Spain, Yamal, he is 19 years old, looked at as like the next big thing up after Mbappe and Messi, right? Well, he's Muslim. His parents are from Ghana, and he also waves the Palestinian flag. So for me, it's like the World Cup really did a great job of showing how, you know, we are at a war right now, and here's this country representing the people who are technically, you know, the other side of the combatants, right? And we see their humanity and how they approached everything they had to go through, and talked about the 163 victims, over 100 schoolgirls that were murdered, and like just humanizing this war for the folks who are just Fox News dead, you know, panned in the brain and all that. And like the rest of the arguments that happened, why Netanyahu cheers for Argentina instead of Spain, because Spain was the first country to join the ICC to you know, bring up charges against war crimes, right? And then Spain also told the U.S. you cannot fly in our airspace during this war where we don't agree with it. So it's like Spain, you know, for lack of better choices, because I rather it would have been Colombia to win, but like Spain is at least a country that we could say what they're producing right now to the world is a positive for the movement of liberation at this moment, right? So I'm glad that we're able to bookend that. But with that said, I want to just give Jasmine one more opportunity to tell us about where we could find you.
Sorry, we got caught up running our mouths, Jasmine. I know that was a lot.
No, that was awesome. I just want to say that, you know, looking forward, that fight for a better world, that DSA is kind of on the forefront, that is kind of leading at the moment, especially electorally, it is being led by Black socialists in the DSA. So as much as the establishment would like to almost whitewash our organization, I mean, look at the people who are representing this movement. You have Chris Rabb, you've got Cori Bush, you have Summer Lee, you have Daria Lisa in New York, you have Milat Kiros in Denver, and it's like, look at this movement. This is a multiracial movement to free the working class from capitalism, to give us back our freedom, and it doesn't happen without Black socialists in the movement, and I am so proud that those are our representatives of this DSA, of this mass workers movement. I could not be more proud to have them as our reps.
Well, that's great.
We're so hyped to have you.
And
go ahead.
Anything that do you want folks to follow you on any platform or the DSA platform? And you already mentioned the events that are going on, so you said that, but like, what about the platforms? Yeah,
I mean, if y'all want to come join us in this movement, please follow, you know, Houston DSA on Instagram. You can become a member at HoustonDSA.org. Check out all of the good work that we're doing. We have our immigrant justice working group. We have a labor working group. We've got an eco-socialism working group. We have Stop Fueling Genocide working group. So there's always some work for you to be plugged into, and we would love to have you. We are a completely volunteer-led democratic organization, but we cannot make that better world unless we have all of us as a part of that movement working to make that movement happen.
No, well said. Thank you so much for joining us this evening and for
Thank
this
you
episode.
for having us.
And Biko, that is another one. Any thoughts you want to part way with the folks?
Just want to sort of reiterate and reemphasize everything that Jasmine just said. You know, that a better world is possible and that there are people already out here making it. Thank you for being here. Like, genuinely, we're energized by your energy and really, really, really like thankful for your passion. And so again, if you could give us, I'm not going to say it for you because you have your own voice. Can you give us those handles, that website and those handles one more time?
Yes, it's HoustonDSA.org, and you can follow our Instagram, HoustonDSA. You can follow me. I'm Jasmine Khadem, also on Instagram. But come follow us, come be a part of our work, come join our movement, because we really need every single one of you to make this world better, because we know that a better world is possible.
Yeah, making the world a better place. And
tap in, lock in, y'all.
Yeah, that's it for me. I am Steven Orozco. This is Talking Politics with Friends. For all of you watching or listening, please subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Absolutely.
Share it with everybody. Let people know that we are having these conversations about Houston and what's going on here, and it's open for you to participate and join, call in the phone, have the talk with us, see who's our guest, join their movement work, join whatever it is that you can do from your home, because like we discussed in this episode, this is a worker-led movement, and it's because we understand everybody got jobs in this amount of time. So if you have this amount of time and you can spend it with us on a Friday evening so you could be plugged in what's going on, we appreciate it. But please share it, because we're trying to grow this network so the entire city and Harris County and even Texas, who knows, is more plugged into what's going on, so we can have more impactful say in what the politics of today is. So thank you so much. This is Talking Politics with Friends.